welcome back, folks, to another— what was that squeak at the beginning? Like, zoinks! Anyway, welcome back to Dai Gyakuten Saiban 2 of Case 2. We are about to talk to Miss Viridian Green, who's finally awake and conscious now. Beheading confirmed is hard, apparently. Good morning. I'm Naruhodō, from the Great Japanese Empire.
Are you the one who stabbed me?
No, I'm an attorney.
Good morning. Likewise, I'm Mikotoba. Then are you the one who stabbed me? No, I'm a legal aid. We heard that you'd awoken and came to greet you. I'm so sorry. Coming all this way for someone like me. I'm a painter, Viridian Green. I mean, a painter in the making. More like, I hope I can be a painter someday, I guess. Yeah, actually, I already know I don't have any talent. I'm really sorry. That's probably why I was stabbed.
Wow. No, I doubt that had anything to do with it.
How shall I put this? She's incredibly pessimistic. Or perhaps just downtrodden.
Maybe we should ask her about the incident since we have the chance. Alright, the incident. In any case, it's really terrible what happened to you. To think that someone could be suddenly stabbed in the back while they were just walking along the sidewalk.
It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick I couldn't see anything. It's already been 4 days since then, right? Yes, you've been unconscious the whole time. And I heard in the meantime that the case has already been solved.
Yes, I, Mr. Holmes, did so with a snap!
Oh, honestly, the one who solved it was Naruhodō-sama, who worked so hard in court.
Does that mean you still haven't heard about the case?
Yes. Apparently, a police officer is going to come and tell me about it. That makes sense. Everybody's so busy just because I had to go and regain consciousness. I'm sorry. It probably would have been better if someone like me had never woken up.
Oh boy, Viridian.
No, not at all. We're all relieved that you did.
Yare. This girl. Please give her a hug. Viridian. You said you're a painter, right, Green-san?
No, inconceivable. To be precise, I'm just a painter in the making. Well, to be even more precise, I'm a student of Thorndike Art Academy. Oh, so there are schools for art here in England.
By the way, whereabouts do you live, young lady?
Perhaps it's a bit pretentious for someone like me, but I live in a flat on Brixton Street.
How curious. Brixton Street is about 10 stations from here on the Underground. Thorndike Art Academy is also 3 minutes from Brixton Street on foot. What about it, Holmes-san? Well, you see, Briar Road is downtown. It's an area that draws a lot of poor folks. Including Mr. Mustache, for example. He has a point. Soseki-san's boarding house is kind of on the decline. I just wondered what a female student from an art academy was doing walking around a place like that. That's all. Huh? Why she's going so quiet all of a sudden?
Shame on you, Holmes-sama. I won't let you pry needlessly into a young woman's affairs.
Dear, oh dear.
Are we nearly finished here? I need to prepare to be discharged.
Right. Thank you for your time. Is there Mr. Naruhodō present? Did he say Naruhodō? If you're looking for Naruhodō, the defense attorney, that's me. Oh, so you're Naruhodō. This is for you. It's a message from Mr. Natsume Soseki. He says Natsume's name right, but not Naruhodō? Huh? From Soseki-san? For me?
I wonder why a police officer would bring us a message from Soseki-san.
Me too. What the heck is going on here? For an officer from Scotland Yard to be delivering a message this early in the morning. Enough fretting already! Let me see that! Oh, well. What is it, Holmes-san? This is no time to be asking, what is it, Holmes-san? Huh? These cases seem determined not to let this famous detective get a moment's rest. A new murder mystery is calling to me. I best be going now.
Murder?
Now then, let's head over right away, shall we? Call us a carriage. But we should probably read Soseki-san's message and call him at the boarding house. Oh, well that's awfully convenient.
Convenient? How so?
It's written right here in this message, clear as crystal, folks. The scene of the murder just so happens to be Mr. Mustache's boarding house. What?
I'll go call an express carriage for us right away.
Another murder? Poor Mr. Garrideb's estate, man! I don't think he's gonna be renting out any more, rooms after this. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san's name was cleared. And yet, the very next day, who would have thought that a murder would occur right in Soseki-san's very own boarding house this time? Soseki-san, just how unlucky are you? That's what I was thinking at the time, but... It's the same day, 7:18 a.m., Natsume Soseki's boarding house, for first floor. Oh! What the?
He's passed away. Yes, there's no mistaking it.
Substitute exchange student Naruhodō.
The Soseki-san?
Why does this sort of thing only happen to me? My trial only concluded yesterday, just when I thought I'd finally get to come home after 2 days. I awake the very next day, and it's to this mess. Whatever happened to early bird gets the worm? I do nothing but suffer.
Poor Soseki. Oh, you're looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Good to see you, good to see you.
Wah! It's you, the Sherlock Holmes! Why, what are you doing here? I don't remember inviting you!
Holmes-sama came along with us. He thought he might be able to lend you a hand, Soseki-sama.
Precisely! You never know when I might come in handy, Mr. Mustache. I don't know. Oh, hi, Gregson. Honestly, you lot sure are noisy first thing in the morning. Well, if it isn't Junior Detective Gregson, I didn't expect to run into you here. Really? Seeing your face at a crime scene never fails to give me heartburn. I'd say that fried food you're always eating is the more likely culprit. Good morning, Detective Gregson. Don't go touching things around the crime scene now. Soseki! This is a very odd screenshot. I'm sorry with that. This would be great out of context screenshot right here. What did I say? Don't touch. You're disturbing the crime scene. Actually, I was just looking. Well, stop it. Even just looking disturbs the crime scene. Ugh. Detective Gregson sure is in a bad mood. Indeed. Apparently, he's allowed to disturb the mood at the crime scene as much as he wants. I guess I should start by hearing what he has to say. Let's talk to Soseki first. What can I say? It looks like you're in a tough spot again, huh?
It's been just 3 days since I was arrested for the murder that occurred on the sidewalk in front of the boarding house. To think that the same thing could happen on the very same night that I returned home!
Oh, whoops! Whoa! 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 Sorry!
My life is hell!
I decided to try and check something and then we just flipped through all the things. No, this is Danganronpa, my bad. So the victim's room is here on the first floor, and your room is 1 floor up, right?
Indeed it is. I suppose you could call us neighbors.
So were you an acquaintance of the victim then, Soseki-san? What's this about? All I did was ask him a casual question. What's he getting so shaken up about?
Well, I mean, I can't say that I didn't know him. But it's not as though I ever visited his room. And I swear that to you upon my very name.
That was really fishy.
I wonder why I suddenly feel as though it might have been better had we not asked that.
In any case, I couldn't help feeling concerned, and that's why I called you. By sending a message with that police detective!
Alright, now we talk to Gregson. About the man who died. William Potenshi. He's a lodger here at the boarding house. As you can see, he's an actor has-been. Or maybe I ought to say a has-been actor.
Potenshi-sama.
The ones who discovered the body were the boarding house landlord, Mr. Garrideb, and boarder, Mr. Natsume. Apparently they were worried when he didn't wake at his usual time and broke his door down. But, as I recall, Garrideb-san had a bad leg, right? Quite right. The one who broke it down was that trembling mustache hunchback Japanese man there. Soseki-san, huh? The victim lived an extremely poor lifestyle and has spent time in jail for some small-time fraud. He had no money nor anywhere to go, and the only people who knew him were the others who lived in this boarding house. He's quite the pitiful dead man. Come to think of it, what's Soseki-san doing here? The investigation's only just started, and the only other people here are those who work for the police. It's not that he was acting strange or that there's anything particularly suspicious about him. I just thought we should hear what the Japanese boarder had to say. You just called him a criminal, didn't you?
I can't help getting the feeling that Soseki-sama is being suspected of something here.
Well, that's true. I mean, his manner is a little odd at the best of times.
Poor Soseki-sama.
Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner shows up, but it looks like he'd only just died. His body was still warm. I don't think I'd have the guts to touch the body, even if they let me. Holmes? 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 Holmes-san? What are you doing? Ha! I should think it was obvious! This is what some would refer to as investigating. I'm asking because it's not obvious.
In that case, what did you find out, Holmes-san?
Oh dear, quite the impatient lady we have here. It's only been 5 minutes since I entered the room, you know. If you want to talk about what I found out, though, it's nothing less than the truth.
Huh? The truth? But, Holmes-sama, that would mean everything.
Ah, now that you mention it, I suppose that is one way to look at it. Anyway, at this juncture, I've come to 2 conclusions. Oh, snap, here we go! The first is that last night, the victim engaged in hand-to-hand combat in order to defend himself.
What?
What the? Why did that get such an exaggerated reaction out of you, Soseki-sama?
Never mind. Please, feel free to completely forget that I even exist.
Soseki? And the other conclusion is that last night, the victim consumed a poison concealed by a strong fragrance.
Ridiculous!
Soseki? Your reaction was even more violent that time than before, Soseki-san.
Oh, no, please, pretend I'm not even here. Invisible man!
What? That's impossible.
Please explain, Holmes-san. Let us hear your deductions.
Yes, of course. Let us decipher the first act of this tragedy with some famous deductions. I dare say it will be fun. Oh yeah, let's do it! I've heard some pretty unbelievable famous deductions so far. Will another incredible miracle occur this time before my very eyes? Now then, shall we begin? Sherlock Holmes, Logic and Reasoning, Experimental Theater. Goodness gracious. Alright, first topic. Cause of the victim's death. Why is the conclusion all the way up here? What happened that night? Let's start by observing the victim's body. The victim died with foam upon his lips. This suggests poisoning. What is going on with Soseki? Sitting right before him is a large plate, and upon that plate is half a large bar of soap. This is very telling. What is soap doing upon his plate? As if it were his last meal. Yes. Could the victim have eaten it? That fact is indicated by the fork. Soseki! It would seem his hunger caused him to cross a final line. Using this fork as a weapon, the victim fought hand-to-hand in order to defend himself. Simply put, unable to bear his hunger, he greedily devoured the soap. You see, poor quality leaded soap could also be used as poor quality lethal poison. Holmes. As one might suspect, the poison that took his life is hiding upon his plate. Soap. The bubbles he blew from his mouth support that perfectly. The victim's cause of death was poisoning from eating too much poor quality soap. Personally, I'm a little more curious about the flavor of a poor quality candle, though. Holmes! Conclusion. Death by soap poisoning. It is really hard to read this without trying to laugh and stuff. Topic 2. Suicide or homicide? Now then, there's just one problem still remaining. Is this incident a suicide or a homicide? I like how Soseki is the one reacting because potentially he's dead. His death came to him in the midst of his last supper. Was the third person present? That's indicated by the single cup. Indeed, arriving at that conclusion just from that is dangerous. After all, it's possible that a cautious murderer could have taken his own cup home with him. Allow me to provide an answer to the vexing problem of the murderer's unknown identity. Soseki. The clue that reveals their identity is, of course, that broken doorknob. It's broken now, but at the time of the murder, the door was locked. And the only key in existence was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he was all alone. The cheap soap reeks of cheap oil. Surrounded by that harsh, wafting scent, he collapsed all alone from the poison. I only prayed that his soul was washed clean, even the smallest amount. No one else was there during his death. And that concludes Sherlock Holmes' famous deduction. He died from eating soap. Oh my goodness. Low quality soap, might I say. I'm also with you, Gregson. I too would be eating after that. There's something I'm still curious about. There's always something you're still curious about. Go ahead and ask anything you like. Would he really have ever eaten soap? No matter how hungry he was? As you can see, he led a rather impoverished lifestyle. He must have suddenly come to see the soap as a delicious-looking feast.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, I tried it once myself many years ago. You mean you've eaten soap? What? It was ages ago. I hope it might clean the inside of my stomach a bit.
Did it work?
I was writhing on the floor in pain and threw up everything in my stomach. So perhaps you could say that it did. And that's when I learned that it was possible for soap to be a deadly poison. Not only was it disgusting, but it had painful consequences. Personally, I don't recommend it. I wouldn't have tried it even if he had recommended it.
I was wondering about something too.
And what's that?
It's Soseki-sama.
Me?
The fact that I can see him moving restlessly out of the corner of my eyes bothers me. It's almost as though he has some sort of inkling regarding Holmes-sama's deductions.
What nonsense.
That was weak. His voice kind of faded out at the end there.
As far as I can tell from observing Soseki-sama's mannerisms, there may be some room for reconsideration of Holmes-sama's deductions again this time.
Sometimes Holmes-san's powers of observation and deductions can be so sharp that he actually overshoots the truth a little. Returning him to the right side of the truth is our job. Alright, let's give him a little help then.
You need to find and gently fine-tune the important phrase that will unlock Holmes-sama's deduction. And if you do that, I'm sure Holmes-sama's real famous deduction will be complete.
In that case, I'm counting on you again this time, folks. Now then, shall we begin? Sherlock Holmes, Logic and Reasoning Experimental Theater. We're just jumping right into these deductions. I love it. No explanations. Let's just do it. Cause of the victim's death. Death due to poison in the soap. Was it in the soap, though? Also, please take note of the updates of how these joint reasonings are done now, like camera and stuff. What happened last night? Let's start by observing the victim's body. The victim died with foam upon his lips. This suggests poisoning. Sitting right before him is a large plate, and And upon that plate is half a large bar of soap. This is very telling. What is Soap doing upon his plate? As if it were his last meal. Yes. Would the victim have eaten it? That fact is indicated by the fork. Soseki's face! He's got a point. A fork does suggest eating, doesn't it?
Yes, I suppose it does. If one were going to eat soap, it seems like a fork would be a more appropriate tool than chopsticks.
And there really is only half a bar on the plate.
But is there really no other explanation? Did he really eat the soap? Let's see if we can find any proof of that.
He must have been drinking tea out of this.
It's empty, so we can't say for sure.
Oh, maybe, you know, since it's this guy, he might have put the soap in the cup, added some water, and drank it.
We still don't know for certain that he's the world's biggest lover of soap.
The fork? Waku. Is soap meant to be eaten with a fork?
Whether they used fork or chopsticks, I don't believe soap was meant to be eaten at all.
But why is he holding a fork then?
Getting angry with me won't help anything. In any case, saying that he used this to eat the soap won't change the deduction. So I think we ought to look for a different clue.
Well, if we look down here... How do I get this camera to work with me? The other half is actually down here. There's soap on the floor. I had no idea Pretensi-san loves soap so much.
Just a moment, please. This soap. It's a perfect match for the other half of the bar on the table.
What does that mean?
It would seem that the bar of soap was split in half and that this is the other piece.
Well then! This has on the ground too. So we're gonna present this other half of the soap if it will let me. There we go. Hey! Let's go!
Did the victim really eat the soap? The answer is revealed by this other half of the soap bar.
There's another half! In other words, the soap wasn't eaten. Why is Home talking again? What is this dialogue? I'm losing my track here. Ooh. What is this dialogue? Oh, I don't have this one. I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. No. For some reason, this is labeled... Okay. There's another half. In other words, the soap wasn't eaten. And for some reason, there's a Naruhodō line here, but he didn't say anything. But of course it wasn't. No one would eat soap no matter how hungry they were. Even I could only manage one bite at best. But as far as we can see, there doesn't appear to be any other food here. I'm glad you noticed. There lies our answer. You see, poor quality soap, London soap, could also be used as poor quality lethal poison. And as one might suspect, the poison that took his life is hiding upon his plate. Holmes-san is really dead set on that soap, isn't he?
Perhaps he didn't eat it, but only licked it.
I wouldn't want to use something that lethal to wash my hands. But he has a point. There doesn't seem to be any food in this room.
But is food the only thing people put in their mouths?
Oh, goody, there's a Japanese word here I'm about to read. We're gonna examine this cup again. This is a Western style oyunomi.
Don't you think it's about time you gave in and start calling them teacups? The cup is empty.
The victim didn't eat the soap. But on the night of the murder, it's entirely possible that he drank some tea.
Yes, that seems plausible.
Alright, we're presenting the teacup! As one might suspect, the poison that robbed him of his life was hidden in this teacup. Indeed! Cups have long been the go-to place to slip poison into. It looks like he got carried away and drained his cup dry. Considering that there doesn't seem to be a single crumb of food in his room, there's only one conclusion that makes sense in this circumstances. The victim's cause of death was poisoning from poison that had been slipped into this cup. There was poison in the teacup. Anyway, we're going over, but that's okay. We love joint reasonings. Homicide or suicide. Yeah, right. Okay. Now then, there's just one problem still remaining. Is this incident a suicide or a homicide? His death came to him in the midst of his last supper. Was a third party present? That's indicated by the single cup that tipped over Western-style oyunomi came up earlier.
Patensi-sama drank some tea on the night of the murder. If we assume that, there shouldn't be any particular problem with that. But what bothers me is Soseki-san's unusual reaction upon hearing that, right? Could there be something more to this deduction? Let's have one more good look around.
Let's look at his hand. So there's a fork on this hand, but notice there's a teacup in the other hand. Ooh. Plot thickens. This could only be another Western style. Oh,
it's a teacup. It appears to be empty, though.
And the fact that it's dangling from the victim's hands mean
that's Patensi-sama used this cup.
But if that's true, then it completely changes what we've deduced so far. I'm kind of afraid to say it.
I think I know how you feel.
Okay, we're presenting this cup. This is getting bad for Soseki. The question as to whether a third party was present is indicated by this other cup. That's right. There are 2 cups in this room. In other words, during the victim's last supper, he might have had someone with him as a guest. Well, at the very least, what we can say for certain is that someone drank tea with the victim here last night.
What are you talking about? This is preposterous!
Indeed! Arriving at that conclusion just from that is dangerous. After all, without knowing who the guest was, this is meaningless. Allow me to provide an answer to the vexing problem of the murderer's unknown identity. Who on earth was the guest? Who visited this room last night? The clue that reveals their identity is, of course, that broken doorknob. His deduction seems to have taken a strange detour.
It's not as though he can try to go back to his idea about eating too much soap at this point.
Who could have visited this room last night? To be perfectly honest, I have kind of a bad feeling about this.
You can avert your eyes from your feeling, but you can't avert your eyes from the truth.
I guess I better have another look. Okay, so we actually need to look at the table over here at these books. Just when I was starting to think that there was nothing in this room but the handmade stage and costumes, it turns out there are some books here. Just 3 of them, though.
What sort of books are they? The titles are The Portrait of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Passion, and the last one is Gabriel and the Sea.
Those were the 3 books that What's-Her-Face was holding, right? Or, no, those were the books that Soseki checked out, right? Yes? No? I feel like I've heard those somewhere before. Oh, wait. Sorry. I feel like I've heard those somewhere before. Whoops, I missed a text.
This is probably just an amazing coincidence, but they're a perfect match with the book Soseki-sama bought at the used bookshop a few days ago.
Eh?
4 days ago, on the day Miss Green was stabbed on the sidewalk, Soseki-sama was on his way home from the used bookshop with 3 books he bought. Now those 3 books are in the victim's room, but Soseki-san insisted that he'd never been here before. What in the world does this mean? What could it mean?
Bad! Bad things! I'm so sorry, Soseki. I'm really sure you're not at fault, but I'm so sorry. The thing that reveals their identity is, of course, Soseki's books. Exactly! Those 3 books have something in common that can't be explained away as a mere coincidence. Soseki-san bought these books at the used bookshop 4 days ago.
It's a coincidence.
In that case, bring those 3 books from your room to show us. Right this instant.
I firmly refuse.
The fact that you can't go to get them means that these 3 books are yours. Oh my god, this! 4 days ago, Soseki-san was on his way home from the used bookshop, and the next day he was arrested. If he'd bought the books here that night, he could have just said so, but he didn't. In other words, you bought these 3 books and visited this room. Oh my god, this is hilarious. Ding! Last night when the trial was over, and you returned to this boarding house, correct? Which means that the conclusion to this deduction is as follows. Last night, the victim died of poisoning here in this room. And also last night, a third party was in this room. And that third party was... apparently it was you, Natsume Soseki-san. That concludes Sherlock Holmes' famous deduction. Oh, Soseki. The guess was Natsume Soseki.
No, not again. Not again!
It appears, Mr. Natsume, that we ought to have you come take a little trip down to the yard again.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
Yes?
I mean, just now you said that door was locked tightly!
Soseki-san got so shaken up that I'm sure this is going to be incredibly serious for him. Oh? All you have to do is get around that... All you have to do to get around that would be to duplicate the key.
Huh?
You're a boarder at the same boarding house. I'm sure you had an opportunity.
But... By the way...
I don't think that's quite the word you're looking for. I don't think trying to change the subject will help you any, Mr. Mustache.
Damn you, the Sherlock Holmes!
This is the second time Sherlock has taken him to jail. Sounds like he's really come to see him as a rival. Anyway, you're coming with me. There's a paddy wagon waiting outside.
Substitute exchange student Naruhodō! I never imagined things would turn out like this, but... I'm counting on you again! I'm innocent!
Understood. I'll see you at the detention center later.
Also,
Yes?
my kitty, please feed her!
Oh. And so, Natsume Soseki-san was unable to free himself from the Spectre's curse, and he was arrested once more as a suspect. Thanks to this famous detective's cruel, famous deduction. Thanks, Sherlock! You're great and all. Anyway, we are way over now, so we're just gonna stop here and continue this investigation into the next video. I'll see you guys then. You know what, I'm gonna blame what happened to Gore, because Gore is voicing Soseki right now, and he's gonna hear this, and he likes Danganronpa. I blame him.
Oop, boop, 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 boop.